from Bhagavad Gita, 18th chapter, text 55. Translation. One can understand the Supreme Personality as He is only by devotional service. And when one is in full consciousness of the Supreme Lord by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, and His plenary portions cannot be understood by mental speculation nor by the non-devotees. If anyone wants to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he has to take to pure devotional service under the guidance of a pure devotee. Otherwise, the truth of the Supreme Personality of Godhead will always be hidden. It is already stated, Naham Prakashaha, that He is not revealed to everyone. Everyone cannot understand God simply by erudite scholarship or mental speculation. Only one who is actually engaged in Krishna consciousness and devotional service can understand what Krishna is. University degrees are not helpful. One who is fully conversant with the Krishna science becomes eligible to enter into the spiritual kingdom, the abode of Krishna. Becoming Brahman does not mean that one loses his identity. Devotional service is there, and as long as devotional service exists, there must be God, the devotee, and the process of devotional service. Such knowledge is never vanquished, even after liberation. Liberation involves getting free from the concept of material life. In spiritual life, the same distinction is there, the same individuality is there, but in pure Krishna consciousness. One should not misunderstand that the word Vishate enters into me supports the monist theory that one becomes homogeneous with the impersonal Brahman. No. Vishate means that one can enter into the abode of the Supreme Lord in his individuality to engage in His association and render service unto Him. For instance, a green bird enters a green tree not to become one with the tree, but to enjoy the fruits of the tree. Impersonalists generally give the example of a river flowing into the ocean and merging. This may be a source of happiness for the impersonalist, but the personalist keeps his personal individuality like an aquatic in the ocean. We find so many living entities within the ocean if we go deep. Surface acquaintance with the ocean is not sufficient. One must have complete knowledge of the aquatics living in the depths of the ocean. Because of his pure devotional service, a devotee can understand the transcendental qualities and the opulences of the Supreme Lord in truth. As it is stated in the 11th chapter, only by devotional service can one understand. The same is confirmed here. One can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead by devotional service and enter into His kingdom. After attainment of the Brahma Bhuta stage of freedom from material conceptions, devotional service begins by one's hearing about the Lord. When one hears about the Supreme Lord, automatically the Brahma Bhuta stage develops, and material contamination, greediness and lust for sense enjoyment disappears. As lust and desires disappear from the heart of a devotee, he becomes more attached to the service of the Lord, and by such attachment he becomes free from material contamination. In that stage of life he can understand the Supreme Lord. This is a statement of Srimad Bhagavatam also. Also after liberation, the process of Bhakti or transcendental service continues. The Vedanta Sutra confirms this. Aprayanat tatrapi hi drishtam. This means that after liberation, the process of devotional service continues. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, real devotional liberation is defined as the reinstatement of the living entity in his own identity. his own constitutional position. The constitutional position is already explained. Every living entity is a part and parcel, fragmental portion of the Supreme Lord. Therefore his constitutional position is to serve. After liberation, this service is never stopped. Actual liberation is getting free from misconceptions of life. Bhaktyamam abhyajanti yavan chasmi tatvataha tatumam tatvatu jnatva vishati tat anantaram. One can understand the Supreme Personality as he is only by devotional service. And when one is in full consciousness of the Supreme Lord by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God.
Supreme Lord Bhaktya mang avijanati javan jasasmi tattvataha tadamam tattvata gyantva vishati tadanantaram. Krishna here says, how can one understand him? It's not an easy task to understand Krishna. Krishna said that Naham prakasa sarvasya yogomaya samabhuto mudhoyam nabhijanati. Elsewhere in Bhagavad Gita he has said this thing. I am not revealed everywhere or to everyone. Mudha, the ignorant fool, rascal, cannot understand me. Only is revealed before the devotees. Bhaktyamang avijanati. Only through devotion, devotional service, can one understand him. Otherwise one cannot understand Krishna. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In Srimad Bhagavatam, the same thing has been said. Namang sadheti yogam no sankhya no. Namang sadheti yogam no sankhya no. Dharma uddhava no suddhaya tapastyago. Jatha bhaktir mumurjita. In 11th canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna says to Uddhava, Namang sadhati yogam na sankhya na dharma uddhava na suddhaya tapastyago. Jatha bhaktir mumurjita. Only through bhakti, devotion, I am to be known. One cannot know me or understand me through analytical study, Sankhya Gyan, by performing yoga, mystic yoga, by Vedic study, by charity, by strictly following the principles of dharma. Namang sadhati yoga no sankhya no dharma no suddhya tapastyaga. By renunciation, by tapasya, penance, or by renunciation. One cannot understand me. Jatha bhaktir mumurjita. Only through bhakti. Through devotional service, one can understand me. The same thing. What is said here, the Krishna says this thing to Arjuna, there Krishna in Srimad Bhagavatam says to Uddhava, the same thing. The bhakti is the only process to know Krishna, to approach Krishna, to understand Krishna. Not by other process, not through other process. He cannot be known or approached or be understood. Only through bhakti, only through devotional service. This is the one thing. And this is stated everywhere, in all Vedic literatures. Throughout the Gita, this has been stated. Throughout the Gita, this has been stated. Only through devotional service or bhakti, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is to be approached, is to be understood, and is to be known. And that is the ultimate perfection of life, human life. To know Krishna, to understand Krishna, to get Krishna. That is the supreme perfection of human life. That's known as Arthada. Labdha sudlamidam bhusham vanti manusyam arthada manityam api adhira. 11th canto Srimad Bhagavatam says, after undergoing so many lakhs of species of life, one gets this human form of life, which is rarely obtained, sudurlabham. Again, this human form of life is uncertain, temporary, very short time, short-lived. Any moment it will finish. Any moment. Anityam. It's not eternal, it's temporary. But arthada, this is most important thing. In this very form of life, human form of life, one can know the supreme truth, the supreme personality of Godhead, Krishna, and can approach him, can understand him, can get him. That is arthada. Paramartha is fifth thing. Do you understand? In material world, we have 3 dimensions, isn't it? 3 dimensions. What is that?
Length, width, and depth.
Yes. Length, breadth, width, and height. Do you understand? 3 dimensions, not more than that. But Krishna, not within these 3 dimensions. He is above this. This 4th dimension. You understand? A 5th dimension. You understand? 4th dimension, 5th dimension. Which is not here, in this material world. It is in the spiritual world. Do you understand? And those who are in this material world, they cannot conceive of it. You understand? They cannot conceive of it. Because only they conceive of 3 dimensions. How can they conceive the 4th or 5th one? You understand? Cannot conceive. Impossible. So how can one understand Krishna, who is in 4th or 5th dimension? You understand? Impossible. Through, it is stated, through empiric knowledge, through mental speculation, through yoga, through austerity, through penance, through charity, through Vedic study, nobody can understand me. Only through devotional service, bhakti. You understand? That is the only way, one way. Bhaktya manga vijanati javam jaschasmi tattata tadamang tattata gyantva visoti tadanantarang. Clearly says this thing. Only through bhakti, devotional service, can one understand me. And what is? How to understand? What is that understanding? Tattvataha. Javan jasasmi tattvataha. This is most important. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, should be understood in tattva, in essence, as He is. You understand? Tadamam tattvata gyantva visvati tadanantara. If someone knows me in tattva, then he is eligible to enter into my kingdom. You understand? Otherwise one cannot. Eligible to enter into my kingdom. He will be forced to get out. Get out here. As we have here in the material world, If we want to go to another country or state, we require passport, you see. We require passport to be granted, visa to be granted. Then we can enter into. Otherwise, we cannot enter. Without visa, passport, visa granted, we cannot enter. In the border line, there are security guards. They will force you back. Get out. Always be arrested. You understand? Punished. This is here in the material world. So how can one enter into the spiritual world? You understand? How can one enter into the spiritual world? What is to be required, needed? Krishna says, Tadamang tattva gyantva visoti tadanantaram. If someone knows me in tattva, in essence, then he can enter into me, my abode, approach me. Otherwise, not possible. In 4th chapter, Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Krishna said the same thing. Janma karma chame divyang evang joveti tattvataha tektva deham punarjanma noeti sammangeti arjuna. He has said. Joveti tattvataha. My appearance here, or my birth here, my activities, lila, pastimes, all spiritual, all transcendental. It is not material. You understand? And one who understands this in tattva, in essence, he, after leaving this body, goes to me. You understand? This is something he repeats here. 18th chapter is a repetition of the whole Gita. And the 17th chapter Gita finished. 18th chapter is a repetition. This is an ideal teacher. Krishna is an ideal teacher. Ideal teacher repeats. You understand? So Krishna is repeating. This is a repetition. Tadamang tattva gyantva visati tadanantaram. If someone can know me in tattva, then he can approach, enter into my kingdom, otherwise not possible. My revered spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, in his purport, explained very nicely what is this visati on entering. You understand? He has given an example how the monistic theory is. What is the monistic theory? What is the impersonalist thing? To enter means to be one with, to merge into the Supreme, to be one with Him. But that's not Vaishnava philosophy. They give example as the rivers flow to the sea and mix with the sea. Now they thereby lose their identity. Similarly, the soul, when the jiva, when enters into visati, enters into the Lord, he loses his identity. No, that's not the fact. That's not Vaishnava philosophy. Vaishnava say this entering to the sea, there is individuality is kept, as there are aquatics. Many aquatic animals are there inside the sea. You understand? And if you go deep and deeper into the sea, you'll find many wonderful aquatic animals. And on the surface you cannot understand sea, one should go deeper. So, this monistic theory or impersonal philosophy is condemned here. You understand? So, this visati means enters into God's kingdom, Lord's kingdom. It is not merging. You understand? So, this in other words, it is said that this devotional service is eternal thing, is always there. after mukti, liberation, it also continues. Because Jiva Nitya Krishna Das. The living entity is an eternal servant of Krishna. Eternal servant. Is eternal service. In all stages, all status of life, all stages of life. Whether one may be either in material world or in spiritual world, whether one may be. If one is in his constitutional position, understands this thing, so he'll only be engaged in the loving service of the Lord. Whether that is the natural bruti, profession or activity of the soul. That's constitutional position. So, after liberation, the soul also keeps his individuality. The varieties are there in the spiritual world and all are engaged in the loving service of Krishna. It's not a fact that there is no activity. All enters into the Supreme and become one with Him. No such thing. Do you understand? This is most important instruction here. Krishna says as a supreme authority. He says as supreme authority. You understand? So, and this has been repeatedly said, and this is one thing is stressed, that is through bhakti, pure devotion, only can one understand Krishna, know Krishna and approach Krishna and get Krishna. Not through any other means. This is the only thing. You understand? And repeatedly it has been said. Throughout Gita, the bhakti has been stressed. Nothing else. Nothing else. Yes. Bolo.
Param Purush, Bhagavan Sri Krishna.